What's more rare than a Keeper of Secrets? Two Keepers of Secrets. That's right, folks. We've got Kaiju up against Golden Floof here, and he's got two Keepers of Secrets against the Skaven, backed up by a couple of Fiends. Interesting combination. We'll talk more about that in a minute here. Some Furies, and Azazel up in the sky with some just cheap infantry. That's all there's money for here. Speaking of cheap infantry, you've got some for the Skaven, some Clan Rats, a couple of more expensive Plague Monk Sensor Bears for the magic and shock damage, Hellpit Abomination here for some sustain, and Avalanche Mortars for damage, of course, Rat Ogres for mass, and the Doom Flayers because they are really good right now. Yeah, interesting build. I like it quite a bit. Maybe you could option out like one of these Clan Rats just for some numbers, although at the same time, Slaanesh definitely in damage leadership, which is one factor to consider in this matchup. Another factor to consider is Slaanesh's general flimsiness against the Skaven's ability to sustain quite a bit of damage and win through attrition in many cases, and also just severe shock damage with ranged firepower, as the Avalanche Mortars absolutely nuke some devoted Marauders there. Yeah, the Slaanesh mobility, of course, does mean that Skaven can have a hard time protecting ranged assets, but here we've got these Sensor Bears stacked right on top of the Avalanche Mortars. Dwarfing Menace also. Do they have magic attacks? No, they do not. Just Armor Sundering and Anti-Infantry with their high model count. And Anti-Infantry, they'll absolutely shred these Furies. Nice little slap there on the Rats. Nice damage on those Sensor Bears as the mobility closes in here. Frontline engagement as it is gets underway, and the Keepers also moving in. The Keepers here still offer some upside. That tiny little missile block chance helps, and we saw those couple of lashes go down for some extra AoE damage. Acquiescence also for a single target debuff can help squeeze out some specific targets here. And more than that, once they're in combat, they're fairly solid, but especially being able to spread the terror around against a faction like the Skaven. Looking pretty good so far, but definitely this one struggling against that Hellpit Abomination. Don't know that I've ever watched this fight up close. The ugliest single entity in the game, or one of them, against one of the quote-unquote most beautiful, using that term loosely, but certainly would claim to be so themselves, right? But, yeah, the 2v1, they should do okay against the Hellpit Bomb, but 1v1, it's going to be pretty bad, and especially with Skrulk moving in, he's got some magic damage, the Packmaster's got anti-large as well, also healing and buffing the Hellpit Abomination, so not a great situation for this Keeper of Secrets. Azazel's going to land there for some reinforcements as the Fiends also fighting. The way the engagement's playing out here, though, the Fiends are sort of not overly surrounded by enemy unit models. They're not taking an extreme amount of damage, but switching now to this other blob over here, reinforcing the friendly Fiends who are working up those Rat Ogres. Managed to rout a lot of infantry, well, a little bit actually, but yeah, Skaven holding up so far okay right now. It's the rush for Slaanesh hasn't been able to do too much damage, but really nice blobs formed for a nice little slap there. Of course, Azazel's also got it, right? That Lash of Slaanesh to super efficient damage, proccing that Blissful Rapture for the map-wide plus 12 melee attack, of course, very strong as well. But yeah, you can see the damage of the leadership is significant for the Skaven. Terror route here, terror route there. And units can be seen off pretty quickly, even if Slaanesh don't necessarily have the numbers to chase routing units here. Still can be effective in breaking their leadership, trying to equalize things, and getting more favorable combat situations. The Fiends have been doing a great job staying mobile here, not staying stuck in an unfavorable engagement for too long. Same with the Keeper of Secrets. All these Slaanesh units, thematically and appropriately, if you use them, you know, carefully, they're very good, but they do need to be used in the right way. Cycle charging, again, not staying in unfavorable engagements too long. We do get a nice Rod of Corruption here from Skrulk, but at this point the Skaven support units are going to have a hard time, and I mean, even still, the Hellpit Abomination plus the heroes for the Skaven here might be too much for Slaanesh, but let's see. We got some Fiends, plenty of them. Let's see, let's check the model counts here. Yeah, still most of the model alive on both units, but Lots of HP damage, so probably will be folding pretty quickly here, but that mobility, they're able to get out after these Doom Flares, make sure they keep them routed like we've seen so many times on this channel. Mobility, whether it's cavalry or fast monstrous infantry in this case, being able to just dominate the battlefield and go after weakened targets, while the slower force is kind of stuck, you know, defending to a degree, chasing if they so choose. But at this point, there's still a lot left for the Skaven. A lot of Plague Monk Sensor Bears, flimsy as they are, high DPS, especially against these Fiends. They're going to be a decent support unit in this engagement. Very thematic also to see them alongside Skrulk. But both the Keepers move in, Fiends move out. Fiends move in from the other side and then move out, and it's just going to be tough for the Skaven to get good, consistent engagements here. We do have some Clan Rat Spears coming back from route. This Fiend's leadership's about to go, and the other one's also not doing great. We've got more Rat Ogres also closing in. So it's all in right now for the Skaven to try and break the demonic leadership of some of these units here and see if they can get them disintegrated. It looks like one Fiend is pretty much down. The other one likely not to survive too much longer. Sensor Bears did get absolutely wrecked there, though. And Packmaster being bullied a little bit here. Scrolls also alive. The Hell Pit Bomb also very healthy still. But all the support units for Skaven, that was a big push right there, but they gave out pretty quickly. Skaven, again, very thematically and appropriately love to do, right? But let's see. Zazel lands there. Looks like he's trying to go after, yeah, just finish off those Rat Ogres. Meanwhile, the Hell Pit Abomination and this clutch stump right here absolutely blocking up some of the Skaven units, allowing us, or the Slaanesh units rather, allowing the Skaven to get into contact, get a few hits. One Fiend gets blooped. Skrulk and goes whooshing out into the void. Keeper gonna move in once more. Double Keeper straight onto Skrulk. It looks like Slaanesh may be going for the Lord Snipe here if possible, but some rear attacks on the Keeper of Secrets. Another Rod of Corruption there as well, doing a little bit of DPS, even though the scaling is better against multi-model units. And one Keeper is going to demonically pass away. And the Fiends are likely to follow immediately after, so that discouraged contact effect here for Skrulk and his magic damage actually doing work, or contaminated even, minus 10 leadership. That is pretty devastating, especially in the late game, even against an elite demon unit, relying on that demonic leadership. But oh man, a little late game gambit here. Plague Monk's anti-infantry, very nicely done, is actually going to probably finish Azazel off here. The Keeper of Secrets likewise also. Leadership gives out, and that's going to be it for Slaanesh. Skaven manages to hold, even though Skrulk almost pays the ultimate price there. He does pay the ultimate price. Okay. Alright. Moral victory for Kaiju, even though he actually loses the battle. Still manages to snipe Skrulk there. You know, in a campaign, that might matter a little bit. But, yeah, Azazel also getting some nice value, but just going down in flames there. Absolutely spectacular. Fiends definitely are a carry. The Keepers of Secrets actually did all right. Even still, I think a lot of the mainline greater demons are just not very good. The unit level ones, generally, I mean, even after many successive waves of buffs, they're still probably some of the worst single entities in the game. Maybe. I'd have to sit and think about that for a little bit. Maybe talk to some people. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Yeah, they're definitely up there. I mean, there's maybe a few use cases for a few of them, but generally, they're going to struggle to pay back their value. So there's that to consider, but both of these guys do all right. Get close. I mean, they cost, what, like 1,600? Let's double check after this. I actually don't remember, but the Fiends are really the way Slaanesh wins most games, but Kaiju trying something different, gotta respect it. Skrulk also, just an absolute savage in this matchup. Kind of forgotten about old Skrulky boy, but he's a true, reliable, respected for Skaven. And yeah, did some work here. I like the pick of the sensor bears, even if they don't necessarily fully pay back their value. And overall, just some value lost to demonic instability for sure in this build. So maybe the sensor bears actually do fully pay for themselves. Hard to say, but overall, definitely a decent build from Golden Floof. Ended up winning out. So although maybe had those two fiends been, or the keepers been switched out for fiends, might have been different. Let's see. Let's take a look here at Slaanesh. So yeah, 1700. So not quite. I mean, even at 1500, I think the mainline greater demons would generally not be worth it. Let's just kind of consider here for a minute. We've got Slaanesh, of course, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Khorne. So thinking about the four of these, little thought experiment all here together. Yeah, the Great Unclean One maybe has the most going for it, just because it has 11,000 HP and you know, decent weapon strength, good stats overall. It is a big target and somewhat slow, probably the slowest out of all of these. Well, definitely the slowest out of all of these, but the Bloodthirster is pretty good. It is the most expensive, and it's flying, which is nice, flaming magical damage, but generally just the cost here and the low HP value means it dies pretty easily and often doesn't pay back its value. The Lord of Change, I mean, the DPS or the damage you get from these spells is not necessarily worth it, and the combat stats are pretty mediocre overall, especially for a unit in this cost range. I mean, it's definitely not bad. Consider it compared to other like bad flying monsters like the Feral Wyvern, but yeah, it's here. It's definitely here. Of course, you've got the RORs of all these as well, which generally just more expensive and less cost effective. But yeah, then of course Keeper of Secrets. One way they could buff this is just to bump this missile block chance to 35%. It'd be good, strong, but I mean it's not going to help that much. It would help in some circumstances, just make it a little bit more usable. I think, and a little bit more matchups. Yeah, another thing they could do with all of these, I don't know, I'd have to look at the patch notes. I didn't check before I started recording here, if they gave any of these units collision damage or if they gave them any other kind of buffs in the 5.1 update, but a lot of single entities got some really good buffs for a lot of factions. Unfortunately, I don't think the Greater Demons, even after all this time being in Game 3 factions, they're just mostly not great. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below if you feel differently. Hopefully you enjoy this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.